The crimson sunset painted Seattle's broken skyline in shades of blood and rust, a fitting backdrop for a world teetering on the edge of ecological collapse. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the window of her high-rise apartment, her weathered hands wrapped around a cup of synthetic coffee. Real beans had become a luxury few could afford since the Great Drought began. 20 years of military service had left their mark on her face, but it was her eyes that told the real story, dark, alert, and haunted by memories of battles fought in distant stars. The gleaming medals gathering dust on her shelf meant little now, not when Earth itself was dying. The security alert chimed, breaking her reverie. Commander, unauthorized atmospheric entry detected. Object size consistent with a personal transport vessel. Sarah's military training kicked in instantly. Track it. Vehicle is damaged. Trajectory suggests crash landing in Discovery Park. She was already moving, muscle memory guiding her hands as they checked her pulse rifle and slipped on her tactical vest. The world might have changed, but some habits died hard. The emergency channel crackled with confused chatter from local authorities, but Sarah knew better than to wait for official channels. Discovery Park had once been a green jewel in Seattle's crown. Now, like most parks, it was a dust bowl dotted with the stubborn remnants of trees that refused to die. Sarah's skimmer cut through the twilight air, its electric engine nearly silent. As she approached the crash site, her senses picked up readings that made her breath catch, energy signatures that hadn't been seen on Earth since the Centaurian delegation disappeared 5 years ago. The crash had carved a shallow trench through the parched Earth, ending in a twisted mass of iridescent metal that still pulsed with failing energy fields. Sarah approached cautiously, her rifle ready but not raised. Movement caught her eye, a figure emerging from the wreckage, carrying something. "Stop where you are," Sarah called out, her voice carrying the unmistakable authority of command. "Identify yourself." The figure turned, and Sarah's tactical lights illuminated a sight that made a professional detachment waver. A Centaurian female stood before her, her crystalline skin reflecting the light in prismatic patterns. But unlike the proud diplomats Sarah remembered from their brief visit to Earth, this one was clearly desperate. Her translucent skin was marred with injuries, and in her arms, she cradled a small bundle that emitted a soft, pulsing glow. "Please," the Centaurian's voice carried the musical quality characteristic of her species, but it was rough with exhaustion. "My daughter, we need sanctuary." Sarah's mind raced through protocols, regulations, and international laws. Official policy was clear. All alien contact was to be reported immediately to the Global Defense Council. But something in the Centaurian's voice, in the way she held her child, spoke to a part of Sarah that had seen too many refugees in too many wars. "I am Lyra," the Centaurian continued, taking a shaky step forward. "And this is Nova. We are all that remains of the healing caste." The title triggered something in Sarah's memory. The healing caste, the near-mythical Centaurian geneticists who could manipulate life at its most fundamental level. Their arrival on Earth 5 years ago had sparked hope for solving the growing environmental crisis. Then they had vanished, along with that hope. "The Void Dominion," Lyra's voice cracked. "They came for us, for her. Nova carries within her the combined genetic memory of our entire caste. She may be the last one capable of planetary restoration." A distant roar drew both their attentions skyward. Sarah's tactical display lit up with warnings. Multiple ships entering atmosphere, their energy signatures matching nothing in Earth's database. "They followed us," Lyra whispered, terror evident in her melodic voice. "The Void Dominion never stops hunting." Sarah made her decision in that moment, 20 years of military training warring with, and finally yielding to something more fundamental: human compassion. "My skimmer, now." They barely made it to the vehicle before the first search beams began sweeping the park. As Sarah's skimmer rose into the night sky, its stealth systems engaging, she caught her first glimpse of the pursuing ships, massive, angular vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "I know somewhere safe," Sarah said, programming coordinates into her navigation system. "An old military bunker in the Cascades. But I need to know exactly what I'm getting into. What makes your daughter so special that they cross galaxies to find her?" Lyra looked down at Nova, who had begun to stir in her sleep. Where the child's small hand touched her mother's injured arm, the crystalline flesh was visibly healing. She is evolution itself, the culmination of 10,000 years of genetic engineering. Through her, we can restore life to dying worlds, bring balance to destroyed ecosystems. But the Void Dominion, she trailed off, shuddering. "They want to weaponize her abilities," Sarah finished grimly. She'd seen it before, the militarization of medical technology, healing turned to harm. Use her power to hold planets hostage. Yes. Lyra's confirmation was barely audible over the skimmer's engines. They would turn her gift into a curse, use it to control or destroy any world that opposes them. "We thought Earth might be different. Your people showed such promise when we first made contact." Sarah's hands tightened on the controls as she executed a series of evasive maneuvers, using the city's towers to break up their pursuit profile. "We still might be, but you should know, Earth has its own problems. We're barely holding on ourselves." For the first time, a smile crossed Lyra's face. "Perhaps that is why we were guided here. Sometimes, those who understand loss are best suited to preserve hope." Nova stirred again, her eyes opening to reveal swirling patterns of light, like galaxies in miniature. Where her fingers touched the skimmer's worn seat, tiny flowers began to sprout from the synthetic material. Sarah watched in amazement as the impossible blooms grew and flourished. For the first time in years, she felt something she'd thought long dead, hope. But there would be time for wonder later. Right now, they needed to survive. "Hold on," she instructed, engaging the skimmer's full emergency power. "We're about to see if these Void Dominion ships can keep up with some good old-fashioned human ingenuity." As they raced toward the mountains, Sarah's mind was already racing ahead, planning, adapting. She'd need to call in favors, activate old networks, find allies they could trust. Earth's authorities wouldn't be happy about her harboring fugitive aliens, but then Sarah had never been good at following orders that conflicted with her conscience. Behind them, the Void Dominion ships loomed like artificial eclipses against the stars. Ahead lay uncertainty, danger, and the faint possibility of salvation, not just for a fugitive alien child and her mother, but perhaps for Earth itself. Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. Sometimes, humanity's finest moments came not from grand strategies or official policies, but from simple choices made in the darkness of night, choosing to protect those who needed protection no matter the cost. The chase was on, and with it, the future of two worlds hung in the balance. The old military bunker carved into the Cascade Mountains hadn't seen active use since the resource wars, but its reinforced walls still held strong. Sarah guided her skimmer through the holographically concealed entrance, the ancient security systems recognizing her biometric signature. Behind them, the false rock face seamlessly resealed, leaving no trace of their passage. "Home sweet home," Sarah muttered, powering down the craft's systems. "At least until we figure out our next move." The bunker's emergency lighting flickered to life, revealing a space that spoke of Sarah's paranoid preparation. Stacked supplies, communication equipment, weapons, everything needed to survive a long siege or disappear completely. Lyra emerged from the skimmer, still cradling Nova. The child's eyes were wide, taking in their new surroundings with an intelligence that seemed far beyond her years. Where her bare feet touched the cold concrete floor, tiny fissures of crystalline growth spread like frost. "Your daughter." Sarah nodded toward the organic patterns spreading across her floor. "She can't help it, can she?" "No," Lyra's voice held equal measures of pride and concern. "She is connected to the fundamental forces of life itself. Every world calls to her, begging to be healed, to be transformed." She paused, looking around the stark bunker. "Even this place, deep in your mountain, yearns for renewal. Sarah moved to her communication console, fingers dancing across haptic controls. That's going to make keeping her hidden more challenging. The Void Dominion probably has biosensors scanning for exactly this kind of signature. They do. Lara gently set Nova down, watching as the child wandered toward a wall, trailing patterns of luminescent growth. It is how they tracked us across 3 star systems, but we've learned to adapt, to shield her signature when we must. She reached into her torn robes, withdrawing a small crystalline device. This dampening field has kept us hidden, but its power cells are nearly depleted. Sarah examined the alien technology with a soldier's eye. Maybe we can jury-rig something. Human tech might be primitive compared to yours, but we're good at improvising. A distant rumbling interrupted their discussion. Sarah's sensors showed multiple ships passing overhead, their energy signatures matching the Void Dominion vessels. They were searching in a grid pattern, methodical and thorough. They're persistent, Sarah observed, watching the search pattern develop on her screens. Tell me more about them. Know your enemy and all that. Laura's crystalline skin dimmed slightly, a sign of emotional distress in her species. The Void Dominion arose from a confederation of worlds that chose to embrace synthetic evolution. They believe organic life is inefficient, messy. They seek to control it, to reshape it according to their vision of perfection. And your people stood against them. We were healers, not warriors. Laura's voice carried centuries of regret. When they came, we thought we could reason with them, show them the beauty in natural evolution, in the chaotic dance of life itself. Instead, she trailed off, watching Nova, who had begun arranging small crystals she'd grown into complex patterns on the floor. They tried to take your knowledge by force, Sarah finished. She'd seen similar scenarios play out in humanity's own history, the strong preying on the peaceful, wisdom twisted into weapons. Yes, they destroyed our world, hunting down every member of the healing caste, but they didn't understand. Lara knelt beside Nova, gently stroking her daughter's luminescent hair. Our greatest achievements were never in our technology or our cities. They were in our children, each generation born with the accumulated knowledge of all who came before, enhanced and evolved. Sarah's tactical mind raced ahead. And Nova, she's not just the latest generation, is she? She is the culmination. When we realized what was coming, our greatest geneticists worked to create a child who could carry not just knowledge, but the very essence of our healing arts. Nova can do more than restore life. She can guide its evolution, help worlds adapt to new challenges. An alert flashed on Sarah's console, incoming transmission on an encrypted military channel. She recognized the signature. Marcus, she breathed, relief coloring her voice. The holographic display sparked to life, revealing a dark-skinned man with lieutenant's insignias and worry lines around his eyes. Sarah, what the hell did you do? Half the global defense force is on high alert, and there are reports of unregistered alien ships in your sector. Good to see you too, old friend. Sarah kept her tone light, but her eyes conveyed the seriousness of the situation. How compromised is the command structure? Marcus's image flickered as he glanced over his shoulder. Bad. We've got unknown agents in high positions, pushing for aggressive response to any alien contact. Something's got them spooked or bought. The Void Dominion's influence spreads before their ships, Lara interjected, stepping into the transmission field. They corrupt from within, turn allies against each other before their final assault. Marcus's eyes widened at the sight of the Centaurian. Sarah, do you know what you're getting into? Not entirely, Sarah admitted, but I know what's at stake. Marcus, look at this. She turned the transmitter toward Nova, who had created a small garden of crystalline flowers, each one pulsing with inner light. This child might be the key to saving our world, not just from outside threats, but from our own mistakes. The bunker's lights flickered as another ship passed overhead, close enough to affect their power systems. Nova looked up, her galaxy eyes reflecting fear for the first time. The crystalline flowers withered, their light dying. "They're getting closer to your position," Marcus warned. "Whatever you're planning, do it fast. I'll do what I can to scramble their sensors," but the transmission cut off abruptly. Sarah turned to Lyra, decision crystallizing in her mind. "Your dampening field, show me exactly how it works. Human technology might be primitive, but our power systems are built to last. If we can adapt it." A soft touch on her arm interrupted her. Nova stood there, her small hand leaving a pattern of swirling energy on Sarah's skin. Where she touched, old scars faded, chronic pain from old injuries vanished. But more than the physical healing, Sarah felt something else, a vision of Earth as it could be, green and vibrant again. "Choice," Nova spoke for the first time, her voice carrying harmonics that made the air itself vibrate. "Earth must choose. Hide and survive, or stand and become more." Sarah met Lyra's eyes, seeing her own determination reflected in their crystalline depths. "We'll need help. Marcus isn't the only one who owes me favors, and humans." She allowed herself a grim smile. "We're pretty good at standing up to bullies, even ones from across the galaxy." A proximity alarm blared. Something had detected their hidden sanctuary. As Sarah rushed to her weapons locker, she realized that their time for planning had run out. Now would come the test of this unlikely alliance between a human soldier, an alien Hela, and a child who carried the future of multiple worlds in her genes. The mountain itself seemed to pulse with Nova's power as they prepared for battle, crystals growing through the reinforced walls like nature's own fortifications. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Human ingenuity and alien wisdom combined against a force that threatened all life's right to grow, change, and choose its own path. Sarah chambered a round in her pulse rifle, its familiar weight comforting. Ready to show the Void Dominion why they shouldn't underestimate either of our species. Lyra's skin brightened with determination as she activated what remained of her defensive technologies. Ready to show them why life itself will always prevail over their artificial perfection. Nova stood between them, her small hands raised as crystals continued to grow, forming patterns that seemed to draw power from the Earth itself. The battle for humanity's future was about to begin, and it would start here, in a hidden bunker, with the most unlikely of alliances. The attack, when it came, wasn't what Sarah expected. No explosions, no dramatic assault, just a subtle vibration through the mountain itself, accompanied by a drop in temperature that made her breath visible in the air. "They're trying to suppress Nova's power," Lyra explained, her crystalline skin dulling in the artificial cold. "Lower the ambient energy that she draws upon." Sarah watched as the crystalline growths that had spread through the bunker began to crack and fade. "They're not just attacking us, they're attacking the mountain itself." Nova stood in the center of the command room, her small face scrunched in concentration as she fought against the encroaching cold. Where her bare feet touched the floor, warmth and life still pulsed, but the area of her influence was shrinking. "We need to move." Sarah's tactical training kicked in. This bunker isn't just a hideout, it's part of a larger network. There's a whole valley system behind these mountains, hidden from satellite surveillance by natural mineral deposits. The minerals, Lyra's eyes widened with sudden understanding. They could help mask Nova's energy signature naturally, without depleting our dampening field. A series of sharp cracks echoed through the bunker as more crystal formations shattered. Nova stumbled, caught by her mother before she could fall. "Too cold," the child whispered. "They're making everything too cold." Sarah moved to the back wall, pressing her hand against a seemingly solid section. A hidden door slid open, revealing a narrow transport tube. The resource wars left us with plenty of secret escape routes. This one leads to what we call the Haven, a valley where we planned to rebuild if civilization fell. They hurried through the tube as the temperature continued to drop behind them. Sarah's enhanced vision caught glimpses of maintenance robots, long dormant, their metal forms now encased in frost. The Void Dominion's technology was unlike anything she'd encountered. able to affect the fundamental forces of nature itself. After what felt like hours of hurried travel through the mountain's arteries, they emerged into something unexpected. The valley that spread before them was hidden between towering peaks, and unlike the dust bowl that most of Earth had become, here there were still trees, a lake, even patches of green grass. How? Lyra breathed, taking in the impossible vista. Combination of factors, Sarah explained as they made their way down to the valley floor. Natural springs, unique mineral composition, and about 1,000 solar collectors hidden in the peaks, maintaining a microclimate. It was supposed to be humanity's backup plan, a place to start over. Nova's reaction to the valley was immediate and dramatic. Color returned to her face as she absorbed the natural energy around them. Where she walked, the grass grew greener, flowers blooming in her footsteps. The whole valley seemed to respond to her presence, as if awakening from a long sleep. "She's connecting to it," Lyra observed, her voice filled with wonder. "The valley's ecosystem, it's accepting her." Sarah activated the haven's long-dormant security systems, bringing ancient defense turrets online. As she worked, she noticed something extraordinary. The technology itself was changing. Crystal formations were growing along the turrets, enhancing rather than disrupting their function. Nova's power, she realized, it's not just affecting organic life. Life finds ways to express itself, even through machinery, Lyra explained. "My people learned to merge biological and technological systems long ago. Nova has that knowledge within her and more." A distant rumbling reminded them that they weren't safe yet. Sarah's sensors showed the Void Dominion ships still searching, but their pattern had changed. They were moving outward, expanding their search zone. "They'll find us eventually," Sarah mused, watching the tactical display. "We need to do more than hide." She was interrupted by an alert from her communication system, another encrypted message from Marcus. The holographic display showed him looking more harried than before. "Sarah, it's worse than we thought. The Void Dominion has agents in every major government. They're pushing for a global security initiative, one that would give them complete access to Earth's defense systems." "How long?" "Days, maybe hours before the vote. They're using fear of alien invasion to rush it through." The irony would be funny if it weren't so dangerous. Marcus paused, looking over his shoulder. "But there's something else. People are starting to notice changes in regions where their ships have passed. Plants dying, water sources freezing. They're not just searching there. They're suppressing Earth's biosphere," Lyra finished, "making it harder for Nova to connect with your world's natural energy." Nova had wandered to the lake's edge, her reflection rippling in the clear water. As they watched, fish began to gather near her, their scales taking on a crystalline sheen. The child reached down, touching the water's surface, and rings of energy spread outward. "Look." Lyra pointed to the mountainside, where the energy rings had reached. Plants were growing at an accelerated rate, but not chaotically. They were forming patterns, structures, natural architecture that seemed to bridge the gap between organic and artificial. Sarah's tactical mind was already racing ahead. If Nova can affect such large areas, she needs time, Lyra cautioned, and protection. The Void Dominion will sense this level of activity. As if in response to her words, the valley's temperature began to drop. Ice started forming at the lake's edges, creeping toward where Nova stood. But this time, something was different. The crystalline growths that Nova had created didn't crack or fade. Instead, they seemed to absorb the cold, using it, transforming it. "She's adapting," Lyra whispered, pride and worry warring in her voice. "Learning from each attack." Sarah's communicator crackled again, but this time it wasn't Marcus. Multiple signals were breaking through on different frequencies. Other military bunkers, hidden communities, survivors of various calamities who had carved out their own secret spaces in the world's forgotten places. They had noticed the changes, felt the stirring of life in places long dead, and now they were reaching out. "Maybe we don't need to hide," Sarah said slowly, an idea forming. Maybe what we need is to show Earth exactly what the Void Dominion is doing and what Nova can do to stop them. Laura looked uncertain. Revealing ourselves would be dangerous. Everything worth doing is dangerous. Sarah gestured at the valley around them, where Nova's influence was spreading visibly, creating a synthesis of natural and crystalline life unlike anything Earth had seen before. Your people tried to hide from the Void Dominion, and they were hunted down anyway. But humans, we tend to fight better when we can see our enemy clearly. Nova returned to them, her galaxy eyes swirling with newfound purpose. The valley is ready, she said simply. It will help us show them. Above them, the mountain peaks glittered with crystalline formations that had begun to spread through the ancient solar collectors, enhancing their power. The valley itself seemed more awake, more aware, as if Nova's presence had awakened something that had always been dormant within Earth itself. Sarah checked her weapons one last time, then began sending encrypted responses to the signals they'd received. It was time to build their army, not just of soldiers, but of everyone who could see the beauty in what Nova offered. A chance not just to survive, but to evolve. The real war for Earth's future was about to begin, and it would start here, in a hidden valley where hope had taken root and begun to grow in ways no one could have predicted. The haven had transformed in the days since their arrival. What began as a hidden valley had become something entirely new, a fusion of Earth's resilient ecosystem and Centaurian crystalline technology. Nova's influence had spread through the natural mineral deposits, creating a network of living crystal that both concealed and enhanced their sanctuary. Sarah stood at the command center, now housed within a structure that had grown organically from the valley floor. The displays before her showed dozens of green dots, allies who had answered her call, making their way through secret routes to the haven. The first groups are arriving, she informed Lyra, who was helping Nova maintain the valley's new defensive systems. Scientists, soldiers, engineers, people who've seen what the Void Dominion is doing to Earth and want to fight back. And you trust them all? Lyra's question carried the weight of bitter experience. Before Sarah could answer, the valley's early warning system pulsed with alarm. A vehicle was approaching through one of the secure tunnels, moving too fast, not following proper protocols. Breach in Tunnel 7. Sarah's hands flew over the crystal-enhanced controls. Marcus's signature, but something's wrong. The tunnel entrance erupted in chaos. Marcus's transport burst through the security barriers, followed by 3 sleek, black vessels that screamed of Void Dominion technology. Sarah's heart sank as she realized what must have happened. They got to him, she breathed, even as she activated the valley's defenses. They found a way to turn him. The defensive turrets, enhanced by Nova's crystal technology, sprang to life. But the Void Dominion ships seemed prepared for this, emitting waves of energy that caused the crystals to vibrate discordantly. "Mom!" Nova's cry drew their attention. The child stood at the heart of their command center, her hands pressed against a crystal formation that pulsed with warning. "They're not just attacking us. They're trying to break the connection, separate me from Earth itself." Sarah watched in horror as the crystalline growths throughout the valley began to shudder and crack. This wasn't just an attack on their defenses, it was an assault on the very synthesis of human and Centaurian technology that Nova had created. "Sarah," Marcus's voice came through their comms, strained and different from how she remembered it. "Stand down. The Void Dominion isn't the enemy. They can give us what we've always wanted, perfect control over our environment, over life itself. No more droughts, no more famines, no more chaos." "Perfect control," Sarah spat back, even as she coordinated their defenders. "Is that you talking, Marcus, or the synthetic implants they've put in your brain?" The answer came in the form of a barrage that shook the entire valley. The Void Dominion ships had deployed devices that began to spread a freezing field, similar to what they'd encountered in the bunker, but far more powerful. Lara rushed to Nova's side as the child struggled to maintain her connection to the valley's ecosystem. "They're trying to force her to choose. withdraw her influence, or watch everything she's helped create be destroyed. Sarah made a decision. Get Nova to the secondary command center. I'll hold them here. Sarah, no. Lyra's crystalline skin flickered with distress. You've seen what their technology can do. I've seen what humanity can do too. Sarah checked her weapons, no longer simple pulse rifles, but hybrid creations enhanced by Nova's crystal tech. Besides, I'm not trying to win, just buy you time. Nova reached out, touching Sarah's hand. Where their skin met, patterns of light spread up Sarah's arm, forming a crystalline armor unlike anything Earth's military had ever conceived. The valley will help you, the child promised. It remembers what you did for it. The attack intensified, ice spreading across their defenses. But where the ice met Nova's crystals, something unexpected happened. Instead of shattering, the crystals adapted, incorporating the cold into their structure, growing stronger. Go, Sarah ordered, watching as more Void Dominion ships emerged from the compromised tunnel. Get her to safety. Humanity's going to take a stand here, but we need her alive to have a chance. Lyra hesitated for just a moment, then pulled Nova toward the escape route. As they ran, Nova's power flared one last time, and the very rock of the valley seemed to respond, creating barriers of crystal-infused stone to cover their retreat. Marcus emerged from his transport, but the man Sarah had known was barely recognizable. His skin had a metallic sheen, and his eyes glowed with an artificial light. Behind him, figures in sleek black armor emerged from the Void Dominion ships, not quite human, not quite machine. This is evolution, Sarah. Marcus's voice carried harmonics that made her teeth ache. The next step for humanity. No more weakness, no more disease, no more death. No more humanity, Sarah countered, raising her crystal-enhanced weapon. No more choice. The battle that followed would be remembered in the stories told by those who survived it. Sarah Chen, decorated commander of Earth's forces, fighting a desperate holding action against an enemy that sought to remake life itself. The valley's defenses, infused with Nova's power, responding to her tactical commands as if they were extensions of her own body. But it was when all seemed lost that Lyra made her decision. While Nova was safely hidden in the secondary command center, the Centaurian mother returned to the battlefield. Her crystalline form began to glow with an inner light that grew brighter and brighter. Sarah, Lyra's voice came through their comm system. Get everyone back. What I'm about to do, it's something my people discovered long ago, but chose never to use. The ultimate expression of our power and our final defense. Understanding dawned on Sarah's face. Lyra, no. Tell Nova. Lyra's voice cracked with emotion. Tell her that life must always have the freedom to grow in its own way, even if that means chaos, even if that means pain, even if that means loss. Before Sarah could respond, Lyra's form erupted with pure energy. Her crystalline body transformed into a wave of light that spread through the valley, overwhelming the Void Dominion's cold-based technology. Where the light touched their ships, the metal transformed, organic crystals growing through artificial alloys. Marcus screamed as the light reached him, his cybernetic implants shattering as Lyra's sacrifice forced a choice: return to humanity or be transformed into crystal. All across the valley, the invasion force faced the same decision. When the light faded, Lyra was gone. In her place stood a garden of crystalline structures, each one containing the frozen form of a Void Dominion soldier who had chosen machine over mankind. Marcus lay unconscious, his implants reduced to dust, but his human body intact. Sarah found Nova standing at the entrance to the secondary command center, her galaxy eyes filled with tears that fell like stardust. Where each tear hit the ground, flowers bloomed, not Centaurian crystal formations, but earth flowers, wild and imperfect and free. She chose, Nova whispered, like Earth must choose. Sarah knelt beside the child who now carried not just the future of the Centaurian race, but her mother's final sacrifice. Then we'll make sure her choice wasn't in vain. Above them, the valley's new defenses glittered with combined human and Centaurian technology, stronger for their union rather than their forced perfection. The real war was just beginning, but now they had something the Void Dominion would never understand: the power of choice, of sacrifice, and of love that transcended species. The next phase of the battle for Earth's future would be fought not just with weapons and technology, but with the truth of what they had witnessed here. A truth that would spread across the planet, carried by those who had seen a mother's sacrifice and a child's power to unite two worlds' hopes for tomorrow. The news of what happened in the Havens spread across Earth's remaining communication networks like wildfire. Not as official reports, those were still controlled by Void Dominion sympathizers, but through encrypted channels, personal accounts, and desperate transmissions from those who had witnessed Lyra's sacrifice. Sarah stood before the Global Defense Council's emergency session, her crystal-enhanced armor gleaming under the harsh lights. The chamber, once a testament to human governance, now felt tainted by the presence of those who had already chosen the Void Dominion's path. "You speak of invasion," Sarah's voice carried through the chamber, "but I'm here to talk about infection. While we debated, while we feared external threats, the Void Dominion was already among us, offering their technological gifts to those in power." The evidence played across the chamber's screens, footage from the Haven battle, showing Marcus and others transformed by Void technology. More damning were the medical scans of council members themselves, revealing the subtle implants that had already begun to influence their decisions. Commander Chen, Council President Rivera's voice carried synthetic undertones that few had noticed before. "You harbor a weapon of mass biological manipulation. This child you protect could reshape our entire planet without oversight or control." "Nova isn't a weapon," Sarah countered, nodding to where the child stood beside her, small hand clasped in hers. "She's a gift, a bridge between what humanity is and what we could become, not through surrender to artificial perfection, but through partnership with life itself." Nova stepped forward, her galaxy eyes reflecting the chamber's lights like distant stars. Where her bare feet touched the floor, small flowers began to bloom through cracks in the polished stone. Not crystal formations this time, but Earth species long thought extinct. "My mother," Nova's voice carried her mother's musical tones, but with a strength all her own, showed you what true sacrifice means. Not the submission the Void Dominion demands, but the willing gift of oneself for another's freedom to choose. The chamber erupted in chaos as Nova raised her hands. The entire building seemed to respond, ancient stone coming alive with new purpose. Through windows, they could see the change spreading across the city, plants breaking through concrete, but not in destruction. Instead, they'd formed new patterns, creating harmony between human construction and natural growth. "This is what they fear," Sarah declared over the commotion. "Not that Nova will destroy your civilization, but that she'll show you a better way to build it. Look." The screens shifted to global feeds, showing similar transformations occurring wherever Nova's power had touched. The Haven's crystal technology had spread through Earth's natural mineral deposits, creating a network that could channel her gift worldwide. In dead zones, plants were returning. In polluted waters, new life was stirring. "The Void Dominion offers you control," Sarah continued, "but look what they've already taken in exchange. Your autonomy, your empathy, your very humanity." President Rivera stood, his skin taking on a metallic sheen as his implants responded to the threat. "You naive fool. Earth is dying. Our species faces extinction. The Void Dominion offers survival." "They offer extinction of a different kind," Sarah countered. "The death of everything that makes us human. Nova offers us a chance to live, really live, not just survive as organic machines." The chamber's security systems activated, targeting Sarah and Nova. But before they could fire, the crystal formations that had spread through the building responded, not with violence, but with transformation. The weapons themselves began to bloom, organic life merging with mechanical purpose. Choice. Nova's voice echoed through the chamber as she reached out to touch a nearby wall. Where her fingers met the surface, ripples of change spread outward. Earth itself is choosing. Will humanity choose with it? Through the windows, they could see more Void Dominion ships descending through the atmosphere. But something was different this time. Earth's own defense systems, enhanced by the spreading crystal network, were responding. Not with traditional weapons, but with beams of pure life energy that transformed rather than destroyed. President Rivera made his move, lunging toward Nova within human speed. But Sarah was ready. Her crystal armor responded instantly, not just blocking his attack, but enveloping him in a cocoon of living light. The same choice Lyra gave Marcus, Sarah explained as Rivera struggled. Return to humanity or become part of Earth's new defense. Your implants or your soul. Choose. Around the chamber, other infected council members faced the same decision. Some fought, their bodies transforming into crystal statues like those in the Haven. Others fell to their knees, the Void Dominion's technology falling away like shed snake skin. Nova walked to the chamber's center, where a great tree had begun to grow from the floor. As she touched its trunk, the entire building transformed into something new, a fusion of human architecture and living systems that maintained its function while embracing life's natural flow. The choice spreads, she said, her voice carrying to every corner of the planet through the crystal network. In every city, every nation. Return to life's embrace or persist in artificial isolation. Earth offers this choice to all its children. Sarah watched as the global feeds showed similar scenes playing out worldwide. The Void Dominion's carefully planted influences were being exposed everywhere, forced into the light by Nova's power. And everywhere, humanity was choosing, messily, chaotically, but choosing nonetheless. They called you a weapon, Sarah said softly to Nova as they watched the transformation unfold. But you're really a key, aren't you? Unlocking something that was always inside us, inside Earth itself. Nova smiled, her galaxy eyes reflecting the future she could see unfolding. Mother knew. Earth dreams of healing itself. It just needed someone to show it how, and someone to protect that dream until it could take root. Above them, the Void Dominion ships were retreating, their cold technology no match for the warm tide of life that now pulsed through Earth's awakened systems. The war wasn't over. It might never be truly over, but the first great battle had been won. Humanity had made its choice, not for perfect control or artificial evolution, but for the messy, beautiful, unpredictable dance of life itself. And in that choice, they found not just survival, but rebirth. 3 months after humanity's choice, Earth had become something unprecedented in the galaxy's history. The crystal network that Nova had created now encircled the planet like a living web, merging technology and nature in ways that neither the Void Dominion nor the original Centaurians had imagined possible. Sarah stood atop what had once been the Global Defense Council building, now transformed into a towering fusion of architecture and ecology. Beside her, Nova watched the sunrise paint the transformed cityscape in hues of gold and rose. Where there had once been only steel and glass, now living towers reached toward the sky, their surfaces alive with gardens and crystalline formations that captured and transformed light into energy. Another ship coming through, Sarah noted, checking the crystal-enhanced tactical display that floated before her. 5th one this week. The vessel that descended through Earth's atmosphere wasn't the angular black of Void Dominion design, but rather organic in form, its hull seeming to flow like liquid metal. As it approached, the crystal network automatically scanned it, confirming what they already knew: more refugees, fleeing the Void Dominion's expanding influence. They're from the Meridian Cluster, Nova said, her galaxy eyes tracking the ship's descent. Their worlds were among the first to fall. They'd been running for so long. Sarah nodded, remembering how Lyra and Nova had first appeared in her life, desperate for sanctuary. Now Earth had become that sanctuary for others, its transformed defenses capable of protecting those who sought refuge from synthetic evolution. Commander Chen, Marcus's voice came through the crystal comm network. After his liberation from Void Dominion control, he had dedicated himself to helping others recover from synthetic manipulation. The Meridian refugees are carrying data we need to see. Star charts showing the Dominion's next expansion wave. Send them to the Sanctuary Chamber, Sarah replied. And Marcus, how are you holding up? There was a pause before he answered, and Sarah could hear the mix of grief and determination in his voice. Better. The crystal therapy helps. Nova's gift, it doesn't just heal the body. It helps us remember who we are. The Sanctuary Chamber had once been the Council's main assembly hall. Now it was the heart of Earth's new role in the galaxy, a place where refugees could find not just safety, but renewal. Where Nova's power, amplified by the global crystal network, could help those partially converted by the Void Dominion find their way back to organic life. As Sarah and Nova made their way there, they passed through corridors that demonstrated Earth's transformation. Plants that had evolved in partnership with human technology created self-maintaining environmental systems. Crystal formations processed and purified air while simultaneously serving as data conduits. It was chaos and order in perfect, dynamic balance. The Meridian refugees were already there when they arrived. Tall, elegant beings with iridescent skin that reminded Sarah painfully of Lyra. Nova must have felt it too, because she reached up to squeeze Sarah's hand. Welcome to Earth, Sarah greeted them formally. You are safe here. The Meridian leader stepped forward, her movements graceful despite obvious exhaustion. We heard the stories but didn't dare believe. A world that found a way to resist the Dominion, to offer another path. Not just resist, Nova said, stepping forward. Where she walked, the chamber's crystal floors resonated with her power. To transform, to evolve, but on life's terms, not machines. The Meridians watched in wonder as Nova demonstrated Earth's achievement. The chamber itself seemed to breathe, its walls flowing with patterns of light that showed the global crystal network's activity. Every point of light represented another community that had chosen to embrace the new synthesis of nature and technology. But the Void Dominion, the Meridian leader began. Still threatens, Sarah acknowledged. But they've learned to fear Earth. Their technology can't predict or control what we've become. Every attempt to infiltrate or attack strengthens our defenses as we adapt. As if to demonstrate, a warning pulsed through the crystal network. A Void Dominion probe had been detected entering the solar system. Before Sarah could even issue orders, Earth's transformed defense grid responded. Beams of pure life energy lanced out from crystal satellites, not destroying the probe, but transforming it. Its artificial components were absorbed and repurposed, converted into new nodes of the ever-growing network. Life finds a way, Nova said, echoing her mother's words from what felt like a lifetime ago. Not just to survive, but to thrive, to change, to surprise even itself. The Meridian refugees shared their intelligence, revealing the extent of the Void Dominion's expansion. But for the first time, their star charts also showed something new, points of light where resistance was growing. Other worlds inspired by Earth's example, beginning their own experiments in biological and technological synthesis. We're not just a sanctuary, Sarah realized, studying the data. We're a beacon. Nova nodded, her galaxy eyes seeing far beyond the chamber walls. Earth dreams bigger now, not just of healing itself, but of healing the galaxy, of showing all life that there is another way. The chamber's crystals pulsed with new energy as Nova shared her vision. They saw Earth as it was becoming, a living library of biological and technological wisdom, where refugees could find not just safety but purpose, where the best of organic and artificial evolution could merge without losing the spark that made life precious. Your mother would be proud, Sarah said softly to Nova. She helped us make the choice, but you've shown us how to live with it, how to grow. Nova smiled, And in that smile, Sarah saw not just Lyra's sacrifice, but humanity's potential, the capacity to face impossible odds, to choose life over perfection, to offer hope to a galaxy that had forgotten how to dream. Above them, through the chamber's living ceiling, they could see the stars. Once they had seemed cold and distant, now they pulsed with possibility. Earth's transformation had only begun, and with it, perhaps the transformation of life itself throughout the galaxy. The Void Dominion had sought to control evolution, to strip away the chaos that made life worth living. Instead, they had forced humanity to discover its greatest strength, the ability to adapt, to change, to grow stronger by embracing, rather than suppressing the very nature of life itself. And in that discovery, Earth had become more than a sanctuary. It had become a promise to the galaxy that life, in all its messy, unpredictable, beautiful forms, would always find a way to flourish. The story of humanity's choice would spread across the stars, carried by those who found refuge on Earth. But more than the story, the possibility it represented would spread, that even in the darkest times, when artificial perfection seemed the only path forward, life itself would offer another way. Nova reached out, touching the crystal walls one last time, and the entire chamber resonated with a song that seemed to come from Earth itself, a harmony of organic and artificial, of chaos and order, of endings and beginnings. The song of life, evolving. The end.